Welcome, I'm Steve Barr. We're here today to talk about our 2015 holiday outlook. Joining me today are several of my colleagues.
Hi, I'm Byron Carlock.
Hi, I'm Joanne Jen.
Allison Stone.
Hi, Emily Wincart.
Scott Bauer.
Byron, the first trend that was revealed in our report is our insight on just the overall holiday spend. I'm curious if you could just share the learnings.
So I think the big news is the optimism suggests that people will spend more this year. It'll be interesting to see where they spend, how they spend, and who is spending. I think that's the guts of the report.
Yeah, what's important about that though is we saw a very clear difference between those households with incomes greater than $50,000 and those households with less than $50,000. Let's talk about that a little bit more.
Well, so the income bifurcation of the consumer is especially relevant. We've often identified them as the survivalists below $50,000 and the selectionists above $50,000. And that begins to answer the question of who is spending, and then you look at how much they're going to be spending and what the cohorts inside those groups are doing and thinking about their expenditures. I think we are expecting the millennials that fall on both sides but have different behavioral characteristics to spend more on experiences, and that's why we wanted to make sure we had millennials with us today on the panel.
Yeah.
And then on the upper end, you see a lot of expectation around grandparents spending a lot of money on their grandchildren and maybe even their children, because they still have the historical belief that during the holidays, it's a hard gift-giving time. You actually are giving something, but that mindset is changing, and I think our retailers and our constituents need to be thinking about those changes.
And an interesting piece of that income bifurcation, Byron, is that population below 50,000. They're really focused on value and very cautious about the overall economy.
I think that's right, and I think that's why you see the dollar store and the discount store end of the spectrum making sure they're offering wide selection at good prices. And from a real estate perspective, we see a lot of growth actually in the outlet and value sector because it gives a venue for the below 50,000 cohort to find not only a big selection, but also a selection at good value.
So after we transition away from the cohorts of the above 50,000 and the below 50,000, we certainly need to think about the millennials. And the millennials are having more of an impact on holiday than on any other prior holiday. I'm curious if you could just share how the millennial behaviors are different from the non-millennial behaviors.
Yeah, sure. The Holiday Outlook survey really showed that millennials are spending more on experiences, travel, entertainment with friends and family, rather than material gifts this year.
There's also a little bit of self-gifting involved from a millennial perspective. Share your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so especially for me and my friends, we're definitely, like Allison said, more interested in spending on experiences. And for me, this holiday season, I'm looking to take a few trips with family and friends. So I will definitely be spending more money on travel and entertainment.
So our conversation about millennials certainly leads us then to a conversation about social media. Mm-hmm. What's new with social media for this year, and what are the insights you can share?
Well, we know that millennials are always on their phone and always on social media sites. And so now, more than ever, brands need to think about being hyper relevant and hyper targeted to an individual. So Allison here, we need to know whether she's online, and we need to deliver offers and messaging that reach her where she's at in the moment when she's ready to shop. And we need to think about things like retargeting. So knowing where she's searching for different products and then retargeting her on these social media channels. I think that's what retailers need to be thinking about in the holiday season. And that's how they get people to buy. One of the things that we know from the research is that a lot of folks go to social media for awareness and to research. And so it's developing marketing campaigns that are geared towards research and inspiration versus just offers on social media channels is also important as well.
And Allison, I'm curious, how are you influenced by social media?
I'm always searching for the next deal on social media, whether it's buy one like this, you can get one in the store, come into the store if you like this, and we'll give you something, and just anything where they're targeting specifically to me, that's how.
Yeah, and Scott, it's a great transition to overall retail strategies. What are the retailers doing to connect with the consumer through their mobile devices and other digital strategies?
we're seeing a lot of investment from retailers to improve experience, service, and speed in the stores and the overall shopping environment. And by that I mean they're using the mobile phone, taking advantage of social media to stay connected to their potential customers before they shop, while they're in the store, and then to connect after they leave the store. So we're seeing a lot of in-store investment to draw people in so that you can have, say, mobile point of sale so that consumers aren't concerned with long lines and don't leave the store, so that you can, what's called proximity marketing, and target a consumer while they're in there. If they've given permission on their phone, they receive a personalized offer. And a lot of that requires an investment in things like data analytics, which a lot of retailers over the last 3 to 4 years have made significant investments, and they're starting to get better and better at the personalization and targeting of those offers.
Yeah, which really, Byron, gets us to a conversation just about overall store experience. What's new?
Well, it's interesting. We are seeing that the majority of folks still want an in-store experience. But when the guest goes into the store, they need to be treated like a guest, and it needs to be informational, relevant, experiential, memorable, and convenient. And the retailer misses an opportunity to connect with that customer if he's not making his bricks and mortar visitation almost unilaterally, all 5 of those.
Yeah, it's interesting because the research tells us very clearly that a mobile device is a tool, but folks seem to be much more comfortable still making that in-store purchase, or that's their preference. I'm just curious if that resonates with the millennials on our panel.
I think there's relevance to the see, touch, and feel. Would you all agree?
Yeah, definitely. While using mobile to search for prices while you're in the store, you're still in the store looking at, you want to touch what you're buying, you want to feel what you're buying,
And try things on.
Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a lot of, what I've seen is a shift from an expectation by retailers to say, consumers got to have it now, so they have to, when consumers come in, I have to stock everything that we have and have 50 of them. I think that we're seeing reductions in inventory because millennials don't have to have it right this second, but they do want to touch and feel, and they do want to have the experience, but it's okay to get it tomorrow. So there's a lot more of same-day shipping or ship from another store, which changes the strategy around inventory management and even the role of the store associate, because the store associate's more about providing experience and intelligence about the product than just getting a product off a shelf.
So the post-World War II retail experience for years was cash and carry. Go in, see it, and buy it. Now it's being replaced with experience and fulfillment. And fulfillment might be taking it out of the store, but it might also be accepting a delivery that day later or 2 or 3 days thereafter, right?
Well, and I think we really see that through the traditional online-only retailers that are now opening up their own
stores,
storefronts,
right.
right? And you can go in, you can see the style, you can fit, but you know that the package will be delivered with confidence within the time frame that the retailers have committed. Yes. So it's a very interesting time.
It's the essence of omni-channel. It's
Yeah.
both and, it's not either or.
Yeah.
And they have to work together.
And we often use the phrase total retail, and we use the phrase total retail to say you have to get that experience right, whether it be online for the research, whether it be the actual shopping experience, and the ultimate fulfillment. Scott, any insights from a total retail perspective?
Well, I wanted to, yes, along those lines, carrying on about that, the previous discussion was, I think this total retail strategy doesn't mean that there's one strategy for a retailer, meaning that where a retailer has stores in a metro area, they might apply one strategy such as, we can ship same day because we've located distribution outlets. If it's not in a metro area, there still is an in-store experience, but they're starting to create distribution centers that are closer to those locations so they can have maybe the day after that we're going to receive the product. So they're still carrying less inventory, creating an experience in the store, but also catering to the social aspects and the unique personalized aspects in store for millennials.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It may be a great spot to transition to brands and how brands matter. And I'm just curious from a millennial perspective, how important are brands?
I think brands are really important, and it's when you build that emotional connection with the consumer, that's when a consumer falls in love with the brand.
Yeah.
And it's delivering marketing and delivering experiences that are hyper relevant and targeted that make a brand completely worthwhile.
And we were talking about how brands really monitor their own social media footprint. Share some insight there.
We know that people love to talk about their experience online, and a lot of times they love talking about bad experiences. Actually, a lot of the time they like to talk about their bad experiences. Sometimes they like to talk about their great experiences. But it is important for now, more than ever, for brands to really build an operating model to manage the risk and to build rapid communication so that they can respond in real time to customer needs and customer problems.
Yeah, it's also fascinating because there's just a limited amount of time. And so the brands are winning because folks need to go to those sites that they trust, and the products and brands that they trust have really proven to matter. I'm just curious, Byron, from your perspective, anything to add from the overall brand discussion?
Well, it's a little bit scary for the non-brands.
Yeah.
What does that mean? I mean, the brands are investing in the technology to connect emotionally with the customer. They're investing in the real estate locations that make it eye-catching and relevant to the customer, whether it's a Class A mall or high street or easy distribution online. What about the retailer that has not made that investment? I think there's a risk of reduced relevance or irrelevance.
Yeah. It's also a time for us to talk about that shopping season. And Emily, I'm just curious from a millennial perspective, when does the shopping season start and what motivates you to buy during the holiday season?
So it's interesting. I feel like over the past few years, at the beginning of November is when I start to see a lot of deals out there. And as a millennial, like Allison had mentioned before, we're very interested in getting the best deal. So I would say the beginning of November through December, we expect to see those deals and are constantly searching for them.
Yeah, so the traditional behaviors around a Thanksgiving weekend, Black Friday, or a Cyber Monday has really shifted to earlier in the season. Byron, from an overall real estate perspective, what are we seeing the landlords do and the properties do to pull the shopper in earlier?
Well, I think you're seeing increased investment in common area marketing, maintenance, decor, and beginning to add to the ambiance that begins attracting people earlier in the season. Some stores are already putting holiday out. I don't think I've seen anyone put lights up and trees out yet, but you certainly see early signs of things going into the venue that begin to pull people into fall.
Yeah. So discounts and promotions are a big part of holiday always. I'm just curious, building off of the comment that Emily had, how do discounts and promotions influence your behaviors?
I'm always looking for the next deal. If there isn't a deal, I will wait to buy it. And if there is a deal, more impulsive as a millennial, you want it now, so I'll purchase it then.
Yeah, and Scott, from an overall technology standpoint and digital, let's talk about what the retailers are doing to personalize those deals, and perhaps Joanne, you could jump in, but what are the retailers doing to make sure that I feel like that deal is directed directly to me?
Well, they're looking for ways to sort of capture more information about the shopping experience you have in store and online and through social media channels. So retailers have done a better job of stringing together that data to get a better and more complete picture of any particular consumer, and then they've also increased their intelligence around what offers might be particularly relevant to an individual and what creates success in that situation. I only foresee that that will increase, especially as the Internet of Things is applied to the retail environment, and there's more data that's available around what actually happens when people are browsing and communicating inside the store or taking things off of the shelves, not just their digital footprint that they have when they use a mobile phone.
So let's build that out a little bit more. The retailers have the intelligence for the individual shopper, but they also have an idea of who's in the store holistically, overall. And are they targeting promotions and discounts only to that consumer, or are they looking at the broader store and who's in the store and what's selling, those types of things? I'm just curious if we could take that down a layer.
Well, that's what we're seeing is that if you rolled back the clock 3 years ago, retailers weren't really aware of who was in the store, but there was, but consumers were carrying mobile phones. They've now gotten better about using that mobile phone data along with the permission that's been granted by millennials that I will share my information about what I'm doing and where I am in the store as long as you're going to make good use of it. So if we apply the Internet of Things into a retail environment, they're going to offer unique promotions to individuals, to Emily or Joanne specifically because of, let's say, I know they're all 18 to 25-year-old females. I'm going to offer a certain type of promotion. Or if I have a certain amount of inventory or I'm depleted on a certain aspect of inventory, I will choose not to promote that product. So that way people don't have a bad experience.
Yeah. Any further insights on the store?
Yeah, I just feel like the store, like to Scott, what Scott was saying is that, they're gaining a lot more intelligence on specific customers. They're looking at behavioral information now and starting to think of predictive analytics. So I know how Allison and Emily will act before they even go to the store. And I know what, here are 5 different offers and I know what to target to them at that point based off of a magazine article that they just read. Because I can string all that data together. And to Scott's point, it is piecing together all that information that people have that gives retailers such a great opportunity to provide these hyper-relevant offers and messaging.
Yeah. So I'll just sort of do one final round robin through the group, and just any final thoughts from each of you on the holiday season.
So as it relates to the real estate, I just can't reiterate enough the importance of landlords and retailers working together to improve the experience being offered to the visitor.
Joanne?
I would say it's all about the customer experience, and to Byron's point earlier, you need to think about the store experience and the digital experience and how it's one seamless experience.
I would say that this year, millennials are very optimistic about the holiday season, especially ages 18 to 24. And when looking at Gen Z, everyone's up on social media, and they should be targeted as well.
Yeah. Emily?
Yeah, I think in the years to come, especially with Gen Z, retailers need to think about how they're reaching out to that generation on social media, and they're going to be big players.
I think this year is going to be the year of the mobile phone where the retailers get it right, because last year there was a high use of mobile, but mixed results in terms of how effective all that was. I think that this year retailers have made a lot of investments in how they could gain more traffic in stores and online using mobile devices.
Yeah. And from my perspective, I think it's very clear 2 things. Mobile matters and millennials matter. And the retailers that really get those 2 right, I think are going to have a very successful holiday season. Thanks for joining us today. To learn more about the factors affecting how consumers make their shopping decisions and how retailers can best prepare for the holiday season, check out our 2015 Holiday Shopping Outlook Report.